remember recess as the ultimate lunchtime fantasy, talking about kickball seekers and 20 minutes of freedom. We saw a bunch of 4th graders turning the playground into their own little world, but we was looking at it through the wrong lens. Recess wasn't showing you how kids play, it was showing you how humans govern themselves the second the adults look away. Take for instance season 1 episode The Break-In. The kids moving through the playground like it has its own laws and territories and structure.
Kindergartners, we have come for the land of the big kids across the wide playground to ask your help. I'm gonna try to.
See, my liege, our best friend TJ was caught by the fenster, and we gotta bust him out.
The playground isn't chaos, it's a social contract. Inside those chain link fences, everything has a ring. Everyone has a role. It has a king, a justice system, a class hierarchy, more rigid than anything the adults were teaching in the classroom. This isn't imagination, it's a state of building. As a kid, you think TJ is just a prankster. As an adult, you realize TJ is a political strategist. He doesn't master the school handbook, he mastered the invisible rules. He understands the real power doesn't come from teachers' authority, it comes from the culture, the reputation, and the quiet agreements made behind the jungle gym. Now we look at season 1 episode King Gus, King Bob Ford, and the kids enforcing his status.
Someone who won't think for himself. Someone like him.
But I didn't do anything. Please let me go. Here's my milk money. I know it's not a lot, but it's all I got.
Silence!
King Bob proves that the hierarchy is a choice. He only has power because the collective decided to act like he does. It sounds silly until you realize those do the exact same thing with titles, suits, and corner offices. We are training in the 3rd grade to believe someone has to be on top. Recess was widely showing us that we learn power structures long before we learn division. We learn who to listen to, who to ignore, and who to leave behind. Season 2 episode The Experiment. The group dynamic changing the roles shift.
Ew! Yuck! Puke City! Quick, somebody give me some mouthwash.
The show doesn't frame this as a tragedy, it frames it as certainty. Kids don't need a textbook to know that popularity is a currency and confidence is a shield. They live it. Playground was just never a playground. It was a simulator, a small, louder, more honest version of the world waiting for us on the other side of the fence. But a society is only half the story. To understand why the kids built this rigid world for themselves, you have to look what they were hiding from. Because in part 2, we need to talk about the teachers and why the adults in recess weren't just enemies, they were the architects of the present. Playground feels organized because it has to be. It isn't just a place for imagination, it's a response to a system the kids didn't choose. Tertiary elementary is the first place in life where you realize they are living inside of rules and systems. The adults in recess aren't just villains, they are running a tight ship. Their walls, bells, schedules. To a kid, that structure feels massive and kind of like unmovable. So they do what humans have done under pressure. They build a world in the margins. Season 1 episode Fencing with Love. Miss Fenster is the embodiment of surveillance.
Hey!
Well, TJ Detweiler. What a surprise.
Recess isn't freedom, it's negotiation. It's one place where kids can trade off official rules for their own unwritten laws, but that independence comes with a price. Venton, season 1, episode The New Kid. The new kids are assessing Gus, not as a greeting, but as a security check to see where he fits in the social order.
Watch it, new kid. Move aside, new kid.
Out of the way, new kid.
Come on, new kid, I don't got all day.
Taken. But where am I supposed to sit? What about me?
Huh? Oh, sorry, but according to the Constitution of the Playground, Section 3, Paragraph 2, under kickball. No new kids.
I've been guilty of this, and I know you have been guilty of this as well. The second someone new enters the playground, the group doesn't just meet them, they assess them. They're looking for stability and they be trusted. What is their value? That isn't a childhood randomness, it's a society protecting its own balance. They understand that every group has rules, especially the ones nobody stays out loud. Look at how they treat authority. Principal Prickly and Miss Fencer are overwhelming forces like a weather pattern the kids have to navigate. You don't have context for the authority when you're young. You just know there are consequences. Season 1, episode The Trial. A dirt cold war turns into a full courtroom case with accusations, testimonies, and punishment hanging over Spinelli like she's facing real criminal charges.
Stand and I'm not telling what really happened.
But Spinelli, if you don't, they'll give you the swirly for sure.
I'm not taking a stand, and that's final.
Hear ye, hear ye. The High Court of the Playground is now in session. The Right Honorable King Bob presiding. All rise. Okay, let's get this over with. I'm missing lunch. The prosecution may begin.
Your Honor, boys and girls of the jury, throwing a rock in a dirt-clad war is the most despicable crime a kid can...
This is why the playground laws are treated such lethal seriousness. The kids aren't playing house. They're practicing reputation management. They're learning that in the real world, that the official manual matters less than the alliances you build. That's what makes TJ like my favorite and the heart of the series. He isn't just a fun leader. He's a kid who realized the formal power and the informal influence are two different languages. Teachers have authority, but TJ has leverage. He understands loyalty, pressure, and the way groups move. Show is quietly telling you the most important lesson of adulthood. The world isn't run by the rules. It's run by the people who know how to move inside them. But that kind of intelligence doesn't just happen. It's forced, because in part 3, we need to talk about TJ Detweiler, why he isn't just a prankster, but a master of the gray market, and why he's the only reason the playground hasn't collapsed into total tyranny. TJ Detweiler doesn't lead because he wants to be king. In a world defined by the cold authority of adults, TJ is a master of this thing called soft power, but with that power comes with an invisible weight. While the other kids get to just be kids, TJ has to be the guardian of the status quo. He isn't the strongest or the smartest, he's the one who stays awake so the others can play. He identifies the flexible points in a rule, not to break them, but to protect his friends from them. He understands the exact moment when somebody's pride is about to snap, and he steps in before the social order collapses. Season 1, episode The Great Jungle Gym Standoff. TJ and the kids treating the fight over Old Rusty like a full political uprising.
That thing, kid. We got orders to knock it down.
Sorry.
Now look, kid. Either you get off, or we're gonna have to knock it down with you on it.
If that's how I have to go, then so be it.
This is TJ Realgriff, the management of meaning. He takes a pile of trash and turns it into a mission because he knows that without a mission, these kids are just cogs in a school machine. He turns boredom into purpose because he understands a terrifying truth. If the kids don't have something to believe in, they start tearing each other apart. He doesn't just lead, he prevents the chaos. Season 1, episode Principal for a Day. TJ sits in the office with the title, the desk, the authority on paper, but the moment makes more sense if he focuses on how empty it all feels without the playground behind him. He realized power is not in the badge on the door. It's whether the people outside choose to move with you.
Good. Now sign it.
Oh man, this whomps.
What you looking at?
Okay, that's enough. Now get out and leave Principal Detweiler alone. That was outstanding. I never... Is something the matter, son?
No, I'm fine. It's just... time for change, that's all. Discipline around here has been too lax lately. I'm gonna clean house. I'm starting off with the worst miscreants in the bunch. Miss Lemon, send up LaSalle, Grendler, Lumberg, Griswold, and Spinelli.
Yo, dog, I absolutely love this episode. And at the ending, he actually tortures Principal Prickly whole character.
What's the meaning of this, Detweiler?
Oh, nothing. I just figured with 1 hour left as principal, why not do something really memorable? Like throw the biggest party this school's ever seen.
You could have been one of the greats, kid.
Yeah, maybe. But then I would have been something I'm not. A power-hungry grown-up. Thank goodness I figured out who I am before it was too late. Huh, sir?
What makes TJ so human is that he sees through the official version of life. He knows that a title principle is just a costume and understands that consent is the only thing that's holding the world together. And now he's winning the game because he's the only one who realized the game isn't played in the office. It's played in the quiet moments of loyalty between friends. But seeing the invisible rules mean he could never truly be just a kid again. He has to trade his innocence for influence. Now we look at season 2, episode The Candidate. TJ navigating the election.
Now remember, girls like guys who are sensitive, okay? Be sensitive.
All right already, I'm sensitive.
Okay, do it.
That about. I will continue to provide sterling leadership for this grade.
Will too.
That Vince is so sensitive. He's got my vote.
TJ is a social architect who builds a shelter out of reputation and alliances, understands how fear spreads and how one bad rumor can ruin a life. Isn't practicing for adulthood, he's already carrying the weight of it. He's the first one to realize that the playground isn't an escape. By the end of almost every episode, the conflict is resolved, the hierarchy settles, the rules make sense again, and the group holds together. For a second, it feels like a happy ending, but look closer. The show never destroys the system. It just teaches the kids how to survive it. The reset isn't lazy writing, it's the point. The king stays on the throne, the social codes remain law, the fence stays up. Recess wasn't about escaping the system. It was about realizing how early the system begins. As a kid, you think the show is just exaggerating, but as an adult, you realize it was simplifying. It took all the invisible forces that shape our lives, such as status, politics, repetition, and struck them down so we could see the gears moving. Offices aren't just playgrounds with bigger desks. Managers are just kings with different titles. The lunch table never actually ends. It just changed rooms. The real warning of recess isn't that the world is unfair. It's already know that. The warning is how quickly we learn to adapt to that unfairness. We learn to read power, navigate hierarchies, and negotiate our dignity before we know the definitions of words. TJ and his friends weren't just playing, they were rehearsing. They was learning that influence matters more than fairness, and that repetition is only currency that never devalues. The playground is the first place we learn the world doesn't care if you choose the rules. It only cares if you know how to move inside. We spent our childhoods waiting for the bell to ring so we could finally be free. We didn't realize we were just stepping into a smaller version of the cage we lived in for the rest of our lives. As you can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation.